Wait a minute.
What did you do?
We up. Welcome to the PorterWay Podcast, y'all. We got a little addition here today. It's going to be a good one. What? Showtime, Sean Peace, Sean Z, Antt with 2 T's, goofy ass. And right there on the very end, we got, can I call you a USA Boxing rep? I probably should ask you before we started this, but you're an unofficial member of USA Boxing, and you've been putting in a lot of work with everybody involved with this new move that was made in order to make sure that boxing is continued in the Olympic Games. And so I made the announcement for the podcast, today's episode. We were going to have Chris Cugliari right there on the other end. Oh, yeah. Right. Also, we were going to have President Tyson Lee as well as Ray Jackson and Amari Jones. We wanted to invite Amari on just to talk about his debut, his Olympic experience. Of course, Tyson Lee wanted him to make the official announcement that you're going to be making for President Lee, and we'll have him come on another time. And we're going to be missing Ray Jackson today as well. We'll invite everybody on this next episode today. We just had some technical difficulties. But all that being said, I'll go ahead and allow you to kind of make the official announcement to what I consider to be to the professional boxing world about what's going on with the boxing in the Olympics.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to be back on. I think it's been about 2 years since I joined virtually, and that was right when World Boxing was founded. And World Boxing in actually end of 2022, but we went public in 2023 as the new International Federation for Olympic-style boxing. And so the news that just broke recently, there was a session for the International Olympic Committee in Athens, Greece this week, and they voted there to include boxing on the program for Los Angeles 2028. And obviously, there's been a lot of discussion over the last few years and debate as to whether or not boxing would be included. And what the IOC needed to see was the boxing community rally around a new international federation rooted in sporting integrity and strong governance and transparency. And so in a relatively accelerated period of time, the boxing community really kind of gathered together, and credit to a lot of people, in particular the boxers. And we've got World Boxing, which has now been given recognition by the IOC and will govern Olympic boxing in LA 2028 and beyond.
I want to do the best I can to kind of save some things for President Lee to include when we do have him on. And I'm really, really sorry. Maybe he's even watching this episode, so I already apologize that he's not going to be on today. But a lot of initials are going to be thrown around through this episode when it comes to Olympic boxing. Tell everybody kind of, we have World Boxing now, what was in place before, and, when you refer to the IOC, that's the International Olympic Committee, kind of take us through, what's going on with some of these initials that people are going to start to see moving around the boxing world and the amateur boxing world.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll come right out and say that the previous international federation was AIBA, rebranded as IBA. And I don't want to touch on that too much, only because our mindset is we're moving forward, right?
Absolutely.
What's the past is the past, but IBA was initially suspended and then expelled from the Olympic movement in 2023, and sensing that a new federation needed to be formed to keep boxing in the Olympic Games, that's when some of the boxing federations around the world, including USA Boxing, stepped up and formed World Boxing, which, again, the International Olympic Committee, the IOC, has turned to say, you are the new organization to run and govern Olympic-style boxing. So I think a lot of people maybe don't understand that the IOC doesn't actually govern the competition or the qualification for Olympic events, right? They're the 5 rings. They oversee kind of the brand and all that, but they outsource the competitions to FIFA and FIBA and all these different international federations. So that's what World Boxing is for Olympic-style boxing now.
Go. Boom, boom. And I figured out how we're going to flip this so that we can give President Lee his space on the show. What we'll do with you, because you've been around the Olympic teams for how many quads now?
I was right after the 2016 Olympics, so really these last two, I've been involved for the program for a while.
I've been an advocate for amateur boxing, specifically, even more specifically, Olympic boxing for a long time. From your lens, why is amateur boxing and the Olympic boxing so important?
It's a great question. I think, first of all, what I would say is, the reason why this is such an important move for boxing as a whole, particularly in the United States, is that USA Boxing is that governing body for all amateur boxing in the United States right now, right? And if boxing were not included in the Olympic Games, all of the resources that come from the U.S. Olympic Committee, and the U.S. Olympic Committee, I think, is like by far the largest supporter and resources for USA Boxing.
Oh, wow.
But they would actually, by federal law, the Ted Stevens Act, not even be able to provide resources for USA Boxing if boxing were not on the program. So you think about a staff in Colorado Springs, a training center, coaching education, all of these elements that build up our infrastructure for amateur boxing in the United States, a lot of that would have gotten essentially removed if boxing were not in the Olympics. That's why another reason why even at the grassroots level it was such an important decision this week.
And a lot of pros still use those facilities that are used for the Olympians in Colorado Springs, like Terrence Crawford and Shakur Stevenson. They prepare for some of their biggest fights in those facilities, Chris, right? Because they know without a doubt there's going to be top young talent there to work with pretty much year round, right?
Absolutely,
so.
Absolutely. And Sean, we were talking earlier, right? When you were traveling internationally, right? I think just by having boxing in the Olympic Games, you give all these youngsters the opportunity to see different worlds that they otherwise may not have had a chance to, right? I think that one of the myths that was out there was people thought that the IOC, the Olympic Committee, they just want to get rid of boxing. That actually wasn't true. The Olympics love boxing, and they love it because there's a diversity in gender and racial diversity, economic diversity that you don't see in a lot of other sports. And you provide young men and women with that opportunity to rise out of their community in any circumstances and represent their country on a global scale. So it's just, it was so important that we kept this in the Olympic movement, and that's why it's such a relief, honestly.
Yeah. You shared a pretty cool story with me earlier when Tank Davis arrived over there in Paris for the games just last year. Everybody saw that he was there, and you said, he didn't do any like self-promoting while he was over there. Kind of tell us what you saw from Tank Davis representing the U.S. and also being a part of the team over there.
Yeah, I think it's just cool to see those really human moments from fighters that you see on pay-per-view and all that, right? So again, he wasn't there it didn't seem like he was there for any reason other than to support the athletes from Team USA. And after each and every fight, there's a meeting ground where the athletes and the coaches and the staff, everyone meets up and congratulates the fighter, and Tank would show up there and would shake everyone's hand, super polite, and just seemed, he carried himself like he was lucky to be a part of all of that, which I just thought was really awesome. So shout out Tank. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, and then we were supposed to have Omari Jones on today. Pretty special moment when you win a medal, whether it's bronze, silver, gold. You have an opportunity you get another medal. Kind of tell us about that.
Yeah, so all of the medalists for Team USA across any sport, you have an opportunity to grant what's called the Order of Ecos, and it's a second medal that you give to somebody that's been a part of your journey and a part of your life that's helped you get to where you are. And it's celebrated all the countries have their own houses at the Olympics. There's like a Team USA house, and it's a really cool place to watch all the other activities going on. And Omari gave it to his father, Carl, who I was lucky enough to spend time with over in Paris. And I always say for this last group of Team USA athletes, seeing the family support that they had and that structure around them and that support was awesome. And Omari and his family are no exception to that. So it was really cool to see.
Last one from me, and then we're going to move on to some professional boxing. If y'all got anything.
I was just saying the energy the last games. I thought the momentum was great. And for us to say they were losing it, how did you feel about that? Like, the support was behind it. Everybody was talking USA Boxing.
Yeah, it's funny because when they made the decision this week about keeping boxing in the games, immediately people start thinking, like, who do we have to thank for this? It's the boxers. Like, what the boxers did in Paris and the way that they all showed out. And it was a great show. I think the medal rounds were at Roland Garros, right? Like a really famous athletic venue for tennis and all that. And the buzz was incredible. So it's the boxers. It's their ability to show up in the ring, give it their all, elevate that place to a great level. I mean, that's who we should all be thanking for keeping boxing in the Olympic Games.
Yeah, I think this news is just so important. It's can't stress the importance enough, because something like this would make the back pages of social media, but it really is so consequential that boxing gets to continue on in the 28 games, because you know, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's really not that far of an analogy. It'd be like if they banned March Madness and the NCAA tournaments for football and basketball. Those are the ecosystems that feed the pros. And, you know, most of the greatest fighters that have come from this country medaled in not only competed in the Olympics, but medaled in the Olympics. So if this spigot of infrastructure, you know, if that spigot was cut off, we would be in some serious trouble in the United States boxing landscape. So it may not have made waves that boxing is going to be at the 28 games, but it's very important, incredibly important.
Totally. And I also think the amateur scene, the Olympic scene, we have a lot of the professionals to thank actually for bringing awareness to a lot of this. And Shawn, obviously you're one of them and what you guys have been doing here, but Gennady Golovkin, as the president of the Olympic Committee of Kazakhstan, within the Olympic circles, doing a lot of work to really make sure that boxing stay in the games. Others like, you know, the Klitschkos and even in the United States, you know, we've had some athletes that have really spoken out about this. And so we have a lot of people to really thank for bringing this awareness to this issue.
And then, so who else is from a professional standpoint is involved in representing USA boxing? Richard Torres, I believe, right?
That's right.
Anybody else really, you know?
Well, it's timely, right? Tiara Brown is a board member of USA Boxing and the new, right?
Yeah.
So,
WBC featherweight champion,
right?
Tiara Brown, right?
So
shoot, is that the segue? I had one more, and then now I'm forgetting it. Now I'm forgetting it. Oh.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I'm just dropping you that you beat the heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah.
You know
No,
that,
I did some things.
Are you the heavyweight champion of the world?
No,
Okay.
no, but I did some things.
We still need to find that fight. I understand that. We got to dig through the archives. And
Nobody
get
has that.
Right.
We got some archives though that we
Yes.
might we got. I got a glean. I got some hope with my man
One
right
day.
here and my man all the way over there. Last one for me, and I know we're gonna get a little bit more from Tyson Lee, President Tyson Lee, but tell us from your lens, from your standpoint, some of the work that was put in to get world boxing going and to get them to govern the Olympic boxing.
Yeah, so the three big areas that the International Olympic Committee wanted to see in order to feel comfortable that world boxing could be the governing body and therefore that boxing could be on the program. So it's governance. Do you have bylaws and a constitution and essentially rules and structures in place for free elections without interference, and all code of ethics, all of those documents and really those supporting structures? A lot of work went into that. A lot of, not enough time to thank everyone who went into that. Transparency, particularly around finances, because when you have dollars coming in from a single source or from a single country, there's conflicts, right? And so we had to make sure that we have diversified sources of revenue. We were able to do that. There's some sponsors like Nike and others that have provided some funding and donations, et cetera.
Tell them we said hi.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. And then lastly, in terms of fairness in the field of play or sporting integrity, right? So it's not just do you have good judging, but it's, hey, when you have a fighter from America and a fighter from Thailand, you know, making sure that we don't have 5 judges from Western countries or from Southeast Asian countries, right? And making sure that those procedures are all in place and that we were able to demonstrate that with some tournaments for world boxing recently that gave the IOC comfort that it's an organization run on sporting integrity, which hopefully then leads, we have to prove it, but it has to lead up to Olympic qualification and the Olympic Games.
Beautiful, man. Thank you for coming to represent world boxing or USA boxing and doing everything that you did as a volunteer. I kind of really want to point that out. This is something that a lot of people don't know. It's a lot of coaches around the world, not just America, but they volunteer their time to a lot of young athletes. The young athletes get big and they say, forget it, I ain't boxing no more. That coach is wasted. Not really, I hate to use the word wasted, but they're gone. 10, 15, 20 years is gone. And I know coaches personally that have been in this thing for 40, 50, 60 years, literally.
Never got a champion.
And has never had a champion. You know, so.
Which would be their return on investment.
Exactly.
Right.
And so, you know, for Chris over there to literally travel the world trying to promote WBO, trying to get other countries involved with WBO, simply because he believes in the sport. He believes, obviously you have a high high level of integrity, but you believe that you know this is needed, you know, and so I just want to, you know, on behalf of the PorterWay Podcast, myself, everybody, man, thank you for your work and your involvement with world boxing.
Yeah, and thank you guys for bringing up a ton of awareness to it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think, again, you're probably one of the first outlets that talked about this a few years ago. So we all, the whole amateur boxing community really appreciates what you guys have done for this too.
It's super, super cliche, but we've all heard this before. You're the future. That's what they tell the young kids. You're the future. So when I say Olympic boxing is the future of world championship boxing on a professional level, it truly is a fact of life, you know? So really, you know, you're preserving what, as Shawn said, could be a lost art here in boxing. You know, you're paving a way or making sure that there's a way for some of these young kids to realize their dreams. And as we know, there's a lot that want to make it to the Olympic Games just so that they can get a bigger check when they turn pro.
Omari Jones gets fanfare. He gets couple thousand people showing up at his pro debut because he won a medal.
Exactly.
It sets you up for success.
Exactly.
And so, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I remember Floyd. I saw Floyd on, what was that old TV show on HBO? It's on the tip of my tongue. No, it's, oh man, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Entourage? Arliss. Kobe was on that too, right?
Yeah,
right,
he was on Arliss way back in the day. You know, and they showed him that he had won a silver medal and all that kind of stuff. You know, it really does get you started. It's the engine starter for a professional career. So listen, everything that's going on with world boxing, we'll be getting a lot of that, if not all of it, from Chris Cugliari, as far as he can tell us and what he can, the information that he could provide us with. The 2028 games in Los Angeles officially will be hosting Olympic boxing, and that was big news for amateur boxing. And we are going to continue to follow that story the whole way, and hopefully we can make some other big stories out of all that. You know some of the stuff I'm talking about. So
well, Cleveland's had an Olympian for 5 straight Olympics, right?
Yeah,
we got to get a 6th now, right?
Yeah. And we will.
New York,
One more thing. We got a couple of Olympians returning. This is a big deal. Listen, it's a big deal when you return to an Olympic, or at least try to make that run for another Olympic. This is why I tell people, and I've said this about even professional boxing, where psychologically a lot of these judges are fixed to seeing certain things from certain fighters, and a lot of times Americans haven't gotten, it hasn't been that we haven't gotten a fair shot. It's just been simply that these judges and referees their eyes aren't fixed to us. There's no connection to who we are. But some of those guys, and I'm not saying Lomachenko didn't do his thing at the Olympic Games, but when you know who Loma is and he's returning for a second Olympic game, it's not that you have a favoritism towards him. I'm not saying that at all. You just know the name. You've seen the style before. You know the body language, and you know what that person can do. So when we have about 4 Olympians returning? 4
of the females, and then at least 2 of the males, I think.
Yeah.
Part of the team, yeah.
So, I mean, we got a really promising future in LA, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really looking forward to it. I think, again, just encouraging everyone to please follow Team USA and also at the grassroots level. Again, this is the future of boxing.
There it is. Let's get to some boxing.
Who are the 2 returning guys on the men's team?
I believe. No, it's all right. Yeah, so
because it's gonna take us somewhere, and I'm good with it. Yeah. Go
ahead. So Raheem Gonzalez is still with the squad right now, and so the next big tournament, they're in Brazil next week. It's the World Boxing Cup, and so I believe Raheem's part of that team.
Well, I think he would have got a great shot at gold if he was just able to compete in 24. But yeah, that's rough. I think that's only been the last few Olympics. But before, we used to have an entire team, each weight class sent, right?
Yeah.
But they've done some changes the last.
You got to qualify internationally now in order for the games.
They're going to do that moving forward.
I believe so. But again, I think we just got the notification, like we got to start building out that qualification system and what it's going to be, what tournaments, all that, right? So that's in World Boxing's hands right now. I believe Jamal Harvey's been battling an injury, I think, but again, was a real favorite to do really well, right?
I thought he was the brightest professional potential guy on the team.
And so I believe he's back. Like I said, he's been battling an injury, but I believe he's with Team USA right now.
It's not a true injury, it's just sickness. He's been sick.
Okay, thank you.
Tell people's business. What are you doing?
No. It's my fault. He was ready to move on with the convo. It's my fault.
Yeah, no, we good. Yeah, let's get to some professional boxing. We had PBC on Prime this weekend, and we'll start with Terrell Gausha. I mean, well,
you guys were there, right?
Yeah, we was there. Elijah Garcia.
Very accurate. Okay, I was there. We were all there.
I mean,
What was unpack that ill?
The fight starts, and I told Antt, I said, Terrell is good. He just don't throw enough punches.
This is about 1 minute in, maybe 1 minute 30.
I said, but he's super accurate. When he does punch, he lands. Boom, comes the right hand. I was so hyped. I looked at him. I'm like, this close to his face. I'm like, what I tell you? I thought the fight was going to be over at that point. I really did.
Really?
I truly thought the fight was over at that point because I thought that he being a vet, I thought that he would learn, he would know how to be accurate again, keep Elijah off of him, get him out of there. But, you know, when you have a certain style, when it's time to really hit that thing, and that's really not who you are. I think he didn't really have that next gear to do that in that moment. That moment got away from him, and you know, as me and Chris talked about it earlier, he had too many moments where he laid on the ropes and allowed things to happen. But every time he threw, he landed. Every time he, you know, asserted himself, he had success. It seemed like he tried to turn it on a little bit later on in the fight. A few firefights at certain points in the fight, which made the fight a little bit more fun to watch. It was a pro Garcia crowd, you know, essentially. And I think I heard boos at the end.
Definitely heard boos.
Yeah, I heard boos when the announcement was made. I thought he was robbed, but rounds were close. And I'm gonna let y'all take over. This is what I told Chris. I said that was kind of like my fight with Keith Thurman. Man. My fight with Keith, it was, you know, I'm my work rate and I'm on Keith, but then Keith lands a couple of big punches here and there in certain rounds, and it's like if he was able to win, why wasn't I able to win my fight? You know, based on the way the fight looked, the way the fight went.
That's not a knockdown.
And I thought the difference, and without a knockdown, you know, and he got knocked down. You know,
wasn't the A-side.
Yeah. Well, you
kind
know
of what happened on Saturday.
So I'll let y'all take over. But I mean, overall, I felt like he won the fight, especially with the knockdown. But rounds were close. I can't. I'm not saying that to defend any of the judges that night. I don't think that at this point I can't. You know, I think that the crowd's reaction was enough for me to understand that was a robbery.
Yeah, and we'll go ahead. Antt.
I just want to see Elijah Garcia grow. It's time to start seeing more from him in the ring.
Yeah.
It's time. I don't know what it is. Is Bob Santos in the corner now?
Yeah, his first fight with him, I believe.
Okay, maybe he'll grow and mature. I just want to see more from the kid. I think Kyron Davis got him.
Yep.
And the last fight was tough too.
That was the last fight.
Okay. Yeah, so it's coming off a loss. So I just want to see the kid grow. I didn't see a lot from him. I haven't seen him adding nothing to his game.
Yeah.
Still young. So that's my thing. I just want to see him grow.
Yeah. Did you see the fight too, Chris?
Yeah, I did. And you know, Terrell being from Cleveland, and I think the world of Terrell as a human. Sorry, I got to throw it out there. But, you know, I think that Terrell, sharp, straight punches, right? I think with Garcia, some of the fundamental stuff, dropping the lead hand and all that, where Terrell was able to capitalize off. I told Sean I had to turn it off after the decision. I really did. I went back and watched the rest later, but I'm with you guys. I thought Terrell won. I thought he landed the sharper, more accurate punches, and he's better when he moves his feet a little bit more, right? But still deserved it. So.
Yeah, I thought I echo Antt's sentiments about wanting to see growth from Elijah Garcia. To me, you know, some fighters, they take their talent for granted. He kind of takes his toughness for granted because he has he's a tough kid. Like he has a good chin. He has heavy hands. His hands are slow, but he does mix up his punch selection good. But I thought Terrell Gausha won this fight, and Elijah just doesn't have that sense of urgency. And you know, I talked to him before the fight. He's got these 2 beautiful kids. He's been a dad since he was 16. So he definitely is mature for a 21-year-old, but in other ways immature.
Immature in the ring.
In the ring. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, exactly. Immature in the ring in terms of, hey, you know, coming off a loss, they're not too many fighters get this kind of opportunity. It's not like you were in the Olympics. It's not like you medaled. It's not like you're this guy that would typically get all these extra opportunities afforded to you, but you do, because he upset Emil Vidal a couple years ago, you know, on Showtime. But I thought Gausha landed the cleaner punches, super accurate, like Shawn said. That right hand he dropped him with in the first round, it was the Tim Tszyu right hand all over again. Same punch he dropped him with, and you know, Elijah was consistent, and he did do some good body work in this fight. And he, at 3 minutes every round, coming forward most of the fight and throwing a lot of combinations and working the body. He had his moments in this fight. And Gausha, like always, you know, didn't always let his hands go the most. But I thought he turned it up by his standards a little bit more than he usually does. He fought with the intention of knowing I got to step it up a little bit. And I thought he definitely stepped it up enough and was accurate enough. I mean, Elijah's head was always in the center. Yeah. It was always in the center. So for Garcia, you're not going to be able to walk through those punches forever. You know, you can walk through them now when you're young and you're strong. And he's a tough Arizona kid. But he's got to find that sense of urgency and find it quick because, you know, like everyone's saying, he was fortunate to get out of there with a win in this fight. Yeah, that could have been 2 in a row for him. Yeah. Could have been 2 in a row for him. But obviously we want better things from Elijah moving forward. Not really sure what's next for Terrell. You know, I was talking to Chris and I was telling him, you know, I'm not crazy about the whole gatekeeping concept, but it's a part of the game, as we know. And, you know, when you take a loss like this, as Chris said, you know, when you perform the way that Terrell did, it makes people, you know, it kind of, it increases your profile, but as I told Chris, doesn't increase your profile in the wrong way, where another promoter that's looking to build their fighter, or the same promoter's looking to build another fighter, now do they stick you in with that guy to kind of build him, you know? So I hate to see that for Terrell, but well, I don't know. We'll see moving forward. Yeah.
The co-main.
Listen, Ramos.
Shawn fell in love. I never seen some other man fall in love. Oh, you really fell in love.
I've been in love with Ramos.
Okay.
I don't know what you talking
Guido
about.
was tough.
Yeah, he was.
I was surprised.
His game.
Yeah, he was surprised. Totally outgunned, but he was tough. And the dudes sparred Pacquiao. Sparred Gervonta. That guy had been in with some champions in the gyms. I mean, sparring's obviously different than the fight, but you know, he was a well-traveled journeyman.
Those lights weren't too bright for him. I mean, he showed up, right? So
you got a chin.
What do you think about Ramos?
So I'm gonna keep. I think I'm just gonna keep saying this about him. I like his skills. I like his composure. I like his IQ. I like that he rehydrates and he's huge at 154. The one thing he still, I think, just me, that he has to figure out and grasp is, you know, Canelo, when he was his age, did the boxer-puncher thing too. And I think, but then in the second Golovkin fight, he figured out, I could do all that, all the skills I got, I can do it going forward, imposing myself on these fighters. And Ramos, his temperament, his natural styles, he's a boxer puncher. He's a very sharp, technically sound guy. Actually, he makes all the right moves for the most part, but I don't know if that style will translate at the highest level.
That's what Antt said, and I was like, yeah, he do. Antt was like, he making all the right moves. I said, yeah, he is, but I'm the one in love with him.
But the only issue is,
Antt said he was the most technical boxer in the game.
Okay, relax. Relax. I didn't say that. No. I was like, he's looking like a technician right now, not in the game.
That's what I heard.
Okay, you taking it too far.
You said something
The technician,
like that.
I think, is Terrence Crawford.
The technician is Terrence. Yeah. But he's nice, though, right?
Yeah, he's nice.
Yeah, because you said
nice.
But you said something that I was like, yeah, you're right. And you was singing high praise.
I was giving him praise. It was a great performance. Yeah. And he had an opponent that was sitting there game for him. I just think at 154, he a problem. You're going to have to stop him. He's coming. So when they're gonna release him. Let him go. It's time for him to get a big name and.
Well, but what I was getting at was
bad.
no, you're good.
Shawn did it.
Like in the Erickson-Lubin fight, even though a lot of people, Canelo included, thought he won that fight. That fight got away from him, and part of it is because he tried to fight that style against somebody who's more athletic than he is. And when he runs into that, because he's going to run into that again, he's got to find a way. I don't know how. I'm not the boxing trainer, but he's got to find a way to implement all those skills and the way he turns over his shots and all the technical precision, but find a way to do it on the front foot a little bit more and impose his strength and his will on these guys a little bit, because it's almost like a basketball player that has a good jump shot, but he's letting you off the hook. The defense wants you to take that jumper as opposed to taking it to the rim, getting physical, and
more like Shawn.
Not like Shawn, because he's not the same physical dimensions, but I don't know, maybe because he likes to fight with the lead hand low a lot. His temperament is to box, and maybe, I don't know, pick it up, learn a little bit of that high guard action, keep the same precision, the same southpaw skills, but find a way to do it imposing yourself in that size you rehydrate into on them more. Because by just being more of a pure boxer, that you're going to run into problems when you run into the Lubins and Charlo. Maybe not now, but Charlo when he was Charlo.
Don't get me wrong, Charlo's still Charlo. He just lost to Canelo.
Right, but
a lot of people counting him out.
Right. But that's why that fight got away from him in the center of the ring, and he could only get his best work done when he got Lubin on the ropes. Because in the center of the ring, faced with a fighter with quicker hands and feet than him, trying to fight in that style is not, he's got to find a way to mix it in with a little bit more aggression.
Yeah, I think when he can fight at that middle distance, he can control the fight, right? I think he did a great job of that the other night. I think it's when you see him in there with somebody that maybe doesn't allow him to control that middle distance, that somebody that's more fleet-footed, fast hands, can kind of pivot around a lot. I'd be really interested to see who they put him in there with next and how that may work for him.
Right. So, but he's good. And he's leveling up. I mean, he got 2 wins in 8 weeks. Nobody does that anymore.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Shawn couldn't believe he was seeing him in the ring again.
Yeah, I was like, did he just fight? That's true. Main event.
Man.
Yeah, it happened.
Yeah, man.
Fundora Booker.
Yeah, that was brutal.
It got brutal quick.
Yeah,
it usually does for the guys up against Sebastian Fundora.
First round,
when he
Booker
gets rolling
looked
downhill,
it
was ugly.
It was a good style. Told Antt, I say he's become predictable. After just one round, the second round, he starts the exact same thing, doing the same thing. And when Fundora made the adjustments, slightly stepping over and continuing to work his jab, I think he more than anything just kind of succumbed to the pressure of, it seemed to me like the pressure of everything, the moment, the tall guy, the range, the power that might become that everything in a matter of 2 rounds. And I really want to just applaud Fundora for sticking with the jab. The first round, Booker's moving and stopping and hitting. I had Booker win the first round, and I thought to myself, well, yeah, you get Fundora to give up his height.
Trying to make him reach.
Exactly. And you're going to have some success. Fundora stuck with what he was doing. He stayed on that train that he's always been on, but with more consistency with the jab to start everything off, And, man, this is a fight for me where I was like, okay.
And not putting too much on the jab, right?
Yep.
To where he messes his front foot balance up.
Yep. I saw growth in a matter of, 5 rounds? Or was that 4?
4.
In a matter of 4 rounds, I saw growth from Fundora. Yep. Still need some speed.
Well, you either got that or you don't.
Yeah. Still need some speed.
But he has snap on the punches, that's for sure.
Oh, Lord. It's something. He got some thump.
He gets leverage. His mechanics. He's got good leverage.
Yeah, gotta have some thump.
And to be that tall and to get leverage on the inside, I mean, we all know this about Fundora, but it makes him a problem amongst other things.
If I can get him to come in for the sparring session, Antt, what you think?
With who?
Who? I'm not about to spar Fundora.
We're not taking that fight.
We're not. I'm going to pull out the week of. Okay. Do you get paid before? Like when you get? Can I get some money?
Hey, the promoter that I signed with, and this is how boxing's supposed to go. As long as you weigh in and you glove up and you get the ring, you get paid.
No,
my first
be
promoter,
that guy.
he would tell these guys, he would say, "You come here and sit down.
I'll be that guy.
I'm holding your check."
Oh, okay, I got you.
And I'm holding your check.
Yeah, all right. Well, I won't make it to the fight.
What you think about Fundora?
Fundora, big. I don't even know how do you prepare for Fundora? There's no one his size.
Atlanta's Fox, where are you? I need you.
Okay,
There was somebody walking out that helped Booker get ready, and he was about 6'2".
Oh, really? That's not enough.
He was about 6'2", 6'1".
He said he sparred guys 6'4" and 6'8".
Yeah, no, this guy walking out was 6'2"-ish. So yeah, what do you do?
I don't know. You got to be athletic, number one. You can't just stand there and get punched. You got to be able to move.
Have power.
Yeah, it's power. He's there to fight, man. He's there. He's an entertaining fighter. Nice kid. Looks like Superman. He has it all. I would love to see him and Ramos do it. They talking about him and Xander.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if Xander got the experience, but I'm here for the fight.
I love that for both guys.
I don't know if it was Abner during the fight. Someone said to beat Fundora, you either got to be able to hurt him or you have to outwork him. And when he's working the jab the way he is, it's hard as hell to outwork him, right? So, yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, it didn't seem like Booker really wanted to fight in the pocket, but I think you're going to have to get close, I think. But,
How,
right? Yeah.
Would love to see him in the Olympics.
Oh, Fundora. He is now the tallest champion in boxing, any weight class.
Dang.
154-pounder.
Dang.
And he makes weight easy.
Is he 6'7"?
He's
6'6".
listed at 6'6", 6'5" and a half. Might even be 6'4" and a half. But at any rate,
He's 6'4".
he's bigger than everybody.
Yeah. Line ass.
I didn't realize Usyk's as tall as he was because he was on that graphic too. And because when he fights Fury, right, and he's 6 inches shorter or whatever.
crazy.
But
He's 6'3" and a half. Back in Ali and Foreman's day, he'd be the big man.
For cruiserweights, is about as tall of a cruiserweight champ, I think, as we've seen. So.
Right. Him and maybe David Hay, or he was probably taller than David Hay, right?
Yeah.
So
Did you see Xander come through the amateur system?
I think I actually coached against him in the amateurs. I had one of my fighters from Cleveland that went against
Did you
him.
win, Chris?
No, we didn't. But,
He said, no.
Antt would usually jump in with that.
But from strong, right? I mean, I think just technically sharp. All the things you see on TV today were fundamentals that were drilled back then.
I saw Xander after the fight. Caught the most respectful pull up on somebody and won your title shot I've ever seen.
I don't know.
But it's two warriors. You know they're gonna show up, and if that fight happens, they're gonna let their balls hang, and it's gonna be a good fight.
No doubt.
Yeah.
That's a pay-per-view fight.
Unfortunately, it's not.
It's not, but it is.
It should be.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a great fight.
The WBO, they ordered
20 days.
20 days.
They're like, hey, let's do it. Let's get funky. Things are changing in boxing. If we want to hold on to these titles and have them mean anything, we have to mandate fights like these and actually enforce it.
Yeah. Sampson says either they unify with background or defend the mandatory against Xander.
Yeah, I'm about to say,
he said it to you.
Man. I'll get passed up for credit
Which
everywhere.
fight do you like more?
You mean in terms of Xander or Virgil Ortiz?
Yeah, no. You talking about Virgil Ortiz?
Virgil's the interim champ for the WBC. Bakram or Xander? I like the Xander fight.
Man, just give me Fundora Xander.
But I think if I'm Fundora, I want the Bakram fight.
Yeah.
Look, Xander he's a undefeated, exciting Puerto Rican fighter. Like he's the one that has been billed as having
with all the energy. That's my boy right there.
No, seeing Xander after the fight, he's huge. Yeah. He's not a kid anymore.
Yeah.
He is a grown man.
Yeah.
But if I'm Fundora, at the same time though, Xander has earned getting to the #1 status with the WBO, but he still hasn't. Relatively speaking, talking about fighters in their prime at the championship level, he hasn't fought anybody. He fought former champions, Patrick Teixeira. But you get he hasn't fought anybody. I'm saying in relatively terms. And Bakram destroyed Tim Tszyu. If I'm Fundora, that's one step closer to the real goal, undisputed. And if he does land that fight, he'll get to do it because if you get a unification on the table, the mandatory becomes null and void for a little while. So
I feel like 154 is the hottest division in boxing right now. Am I right?
Yeah.
154 is the hottest division in boxing. If you are a boxing enthusiast that really knows the landscape, that 154, dang. That's great fight after the great fight. If we could get them made, of course.
Yeah.
But that's great fight after great fight right there.
Yeah, I think it could be more likely to be made because with Turkey coming in and this potential Dana, no, they did merge. And TKO Boxing come in. It's like, you guys better put your best foot forward. And where you normally would have played games and go, well, we're trying to do our thing. You do your thing with Xander.
Yeah.
And even with the WBO, where they might have played ball with that. Sure, whoever, we'll play ball too. It's like everybody can't play these games as much now. Yeah. You got to put your best foot forward if the boxing establishment wants to remain the boxing establishment, not get overthrown by the people coming in. They got to put their best foot forward. So, as for the fight itself, Sean, if you don't mind, I got a second.
Go.
So, I made this joke covering Fundora that a better writer than me, a better writer than me, would paint Fundora as a sympathetic figure, because even though he's the only fighter in boxing's deepest division with 2 belts, and even though, like Antt said, he's always in an exciting fight, he still is almost, in a way, fighting for legitimacy. People can't get past the height. Some people treat it like it's a freak show, like it's a gimmick. He's that really tall fighter, And then even though he's always in entertaining fights, it's always about, well, his style's ugly. He doesn't use his height. The biggest win of his career, Tim Tszyu, a great fight. It was muddied a little bit because of the cut from his elbow. Would he have really beat Tim Tszyu, or was Tim Tszyu on his way to dominating that fight? So despite being an exciting fighter and a unified champion and a guy seemingly willing to fight anybody, he's still not really getting his respect. He's still fighting for that. And if he could beat the Virgil Ortiz, Bakram, and become undisputed, it's so overdone in sports today, the shut everybody up and the doubters, that now we have one really in front of us in Fundora that you can't appreciate it. Because that storyline, that cliche is so tired in sports that they all doubt. I mean, no, they didn't. A lot of people thought you'd win this fight or win this game, or you were picked #1 out of college. No, calm down. Fundora really is the guy, that tall guy, the minute someone touches his chin, it's over. We all heard people say that about Fundora. The guy doesn't use his height, etc. He's really that. He really is trying to he's not trying to shut everybody up, but he has to. But anyway, what's interesting about him is he's both so beatable and so formidable and dangerous at the same time. You look at him, he gets hit. He was getting hit by right hands nonstop by Tim Tszyu in the early part of that fight. So because he's so hittable, he's beatable. I think other fighters watch him, Xander, Virgil, I could beat that guy, but it's different. But then once you get in there and he's 6'6", and he can fight on the inside, and he punches hard as hell, and he's got fighting spirit. The guy, you gotta put him out to make him stop. He won't stop. And he's awkward and trickier than you think. So he's an interesting fighter. On one hand, looks super beatable. On the other hand, he might actually become undisputed at 54. And with the Zayas fight, it feels like a fight Zayas is supposed to win because he's the next Tito. He's the next Cotto. He could sell out the Garden. Sebastian could only sell 2,000 tickets. But the young man might be biting off more than he can chew, because this guy's been knocked out. He's had to get up against Lubin. He's had to come back from a loss. He's had his nose split open. He's fought Mendoza. He's fought Tszyu. He's fought Lubin. He's fought some real guys, and Xander hasn't. And he could turn it into, but careful what you wish for, young man. Right. So
well said, sir. Let's hit this one real quick. Samson wants a purse bid for Benavidez versus Bivol, and he wants to fight in the U.S. And Bivol has until April 8th to decide to defend his title. Benavidez will fight Callum Smith if the belt becomes vacant, right?
Yeah, that was my interview. So no, I'm just
go for it. Go for it. No, go.
I like it. Where you find the interview at?
No, that wasn't just me. Boxing Scene, I think, got it a day before, and then I got similar quotes.
But we go to Shawn Zittel channel for all our interviews.
Right. Shout out to Boxing Scene too.
Shout out to Shawn Zittel.
Right. Thank you.
No problem.
No, but no, what do you guys think first? I blabbed for 5 minutes about.
Yeah, you did.
No, you good.
Blabber.
I'm sorry. It was good though.
I'm worried that the business is gonna get in front of it, and he might give up the title, and Benavidez might be the full champion, which I think is gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I just We got options now in boxing, man, and then it's a good thing, it's a bad thing. But we have options now, and I think Benavidez will be the full champion. I'm good watching Benavidez, Callum Smith. Does he have to fight for it, or does he automatically get it?
If it's vacant, then he will be fighting Callum Smith.
Somewhere
the winner takes
be elevated.
Yeah, I heard.
And then the first title defense.
Was that on your channel?
No,
okay.
it wasn't. No.
Okay, well, it was
That's actual hard hitting news.
No,
I didn't get that.
It was on your channel. Yeah.
I like that fight. I think that now or at least for me, I'm starting to see ways that Benavidez can still become that superstar in the sport that a lot of us feel he should already be. I've always felt that it took Canelo, him taking that fight against Canelo and really performing, all eyes in front of him for him to really be realized as the kind of fighter that he truly is. Callum Smith, I think, is a fight that obviously we already know brings international presence with the UK and things of that nature. I think that's another way that he can make his way. Callum Smith looked really good in his last fight. I was rooting for the kid. I really like him as a fighter. I like the whole family, everything about him. But I feel like a fight with Benavidez, as we already know, the younger, very energetic, strong, big, the list kind of goes on. I feel like, that's a fight that Benavidez should win. And a fight with Bivol is a really, really tough fight for both guys. Maybe still a little tougher for Benavidez, possibly tougher for Bivol now, given the fact that he's had 2 fights with Benavidez. Yep. So there it is for me.
Yeah. What you think, Chris?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's well said. I think a lot of boxing, the hardcore boxing fan base wants to see Benavidez kind of get launched into that next level where more eyeballs can get on him. I think the Callum Smith fight's a great way to do it. So I think you guys nailed it.
Yeah, I think it's the typical boxing politics, kind of everybody involved being a little, not the fighters, but the power brokers. You got Turki Al-Sheikh shooting the fight down before it ever really comes across the table in real negotiations. And then you got Samson Lukowicz. I talked to him about it, and he's demanding the fight be in the United States. And, my bias loves that. Of course, I'd love to cover the fight in the States. I don't want the fight in Saudi. I think the fight sells better in the States and all that. But Bivol is the champion, and he calls the shots here. And if he's aligned with Turki Al-Sheikh, and like Ric Flair said, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And so, if you want to be the man, Benavidez and Samson, respectfully, and I'm with you. I'd love the fight to be in the United States. I think the fight sells better in the United States, but he's the champion. Him and his promoter call the shots in this particular matchup. And it's disappointing that Turki shot it down right away, and then it's disappointing that Samson is shooting down any chance of the fight happening overseas.
Yep, which is what I said to somebody earlier. That's how somebody was asking me. I'm not gonna. I'm trying. I want to rephrase this so that I don't really present it the way, I'm known for fighting everybody. I'm known for, going to war with everybody. And the guy that didn't duck anybody. I fought everybody in their prime, blah, 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 blah. And the question is who out there is willing to do it. And I said, it's always one or two things. Either there's the fighter that isn't necessarily afraid of doing that, but just understands risk to reward and is always looking for the biggest reward, or the other side of that is the promoter or the manager gets in the way of what could possibly be. And I said, I got a feeling with Bivol and Benavidez, it's going to be the business getting in the way of the fight. And that's another way that you don't get what you saw coming from me. It was a blessing that everybody was on my side of the yard, of the fence, and it was perfect timing for me to still be healthy when other guys weren't, and kind of the list goes on. It worked for me. It doesn't work for everybody, but when you're looking at a fighter and you're saying, oh, he's ducking such and such, he's not ducking such and such. Okay, he's learned the business along the way, and when the business dictates this move, you just don't push against it, And then other times when a fighter wants to push against it, the business is way out in front of him, saying it's never going to happen, or these are the stipulations. In that fight specifically, business needs to get out of the way and let whatever makes sense just simply happen. If it makes sense for these guys to make more money going overseas and fighting, then oh well. You don't get all the chips. You're still gonna get some chips. You're gonna eat. Okay, you're just not gonna get as much food as you want it, as you want it, you know. But the business is always usually getting in the way and dictating things, and I truly do got a feeling, as you just said, that's gonna be the case with Benavidez and Bivol.
Yeah, because narratives got built immediately around that fight. Pro Benavidez narrative, you know. Turkey shooting down the fight, Bivol's gonna vacate, you know, and then pro Bivol narrative, who's David Benavidez to bark orders at the champion, you know, they're already killing the fight by wanting America. So both sides got their claim to the other side killing the fight, you know, more bullshit as usual, but it would be a great fight. It would be a great fight.
Yeah.
I hope they just go to purse bid. Let it go to purse bid. I think April 8th, they said let it go to purse bid, and whoever bids the highest, no crying, put on the fight.
I don't know what assets got sent in for today. I'm not really sure, but can you pull up the screenshot of Ryan Garcia's reply to what I said last week? I was saying that I felt Devin Haney is going to win the rematch. I've had this argument with a lot of people. A lot of people think that steroids, no steroid, substances or no substances, the Ryan beats Devin all day and all night. I said that night, no substances. Yes, he still beats Devin. Devin was just not who he was supposed to be that night, large in part because of the antics that we saw coming from Ryan Garcia for months before the fight. I think that they felt they hadn't seen growth from Ryan since their amateur days. They knew that I know it. We wearing 8-ounce gloves. We men now and all this other kind of stuff. He was got a little ahead of himself, and the worst happened where he couldn't make a hook miss. Everybody has taken one fight with one punch and determined that that's how every single fight with that fighters and that punch is gonna go. I don't feel that way, right? But pull up. I don't know if you pulled up the screenshot that I took of what Ryan Garcia said. Let me pull it up real quick on my end. Ryan says, been hearing this my whole life, in reference to me saying that Devin wins the rematch. Been hearing this my whole career, that I'm not this or that. You don't just destroy someone like that. It's true, you don't, without being a great boxer. One thing about me is I land punches, and I know how to do that. That hook is special. Disclaimer, that hook is special, and you know that I've been saying that for years, way before. Yeah,
I don't think anyone disagrees with that.
Yeah. But again, it's one punch, you know, and he's got the jab, he's got speed, he got it all.
Yeah,
he was hitting it with the right hand too.
Yeah.
That fight.
He says against any level. So he said, one thing about me is I land punches, and I know how to do that against any level. So I got something special this guy can't see. Shit, I drop Sean if I fought him as well. He's too slow. I've never been called slow, and I mean, y'all saw me take some of the biggest punches from some of the biggest hitters, and I stood up to all of it. And y'all saw the last one, and y'all saw how that one went for me as well. But I really wanted to respond from this standpoint. I fought against this my whole career. I fought against this as an amateur. I fought against this my whole life. Being doubted, being counted out, list goes on. When you're 5'7" on most days, shorter on others, nobody expects you to do a lot of the things that I did. And so I looked at this and I was like, damn, like he just took a shot at me for my opinion. You mad at my opinion based on what my intellect and my experience is. I trust, and people hire me to do this, and you are taking offense to it. Why not just prove me wrong? Why all of a sudden you gonna drop Shawn Porter? No, that doesn't happen to me, especially not respect to him, but not that guy, you know. But so pull up the next screenshot, and I wanted to show everybody that it's not a situation where I'm showing favoritism to Devin Haney or anything of that nature. And I'm trying to find it on my end too. So I took a screenshot of what I sent to Ryan Garcia's lawyer the morning of his fight with Devin Haney.
Lupe Valencia.
And hopefully you guys can see it on this end. I sent a scripture. Please send this script. Please get this scripture to Ryan Garcia. I'm not going to read the scripture, but it's quite a few verses. And because of everything that I had saw before the fight, I just wanted a good fight. I just wanted both guys to get in there, get out of there safely. And because it had been gone so crazy for Ryan, people were even saying, what happens if he loses this fight? Is he going to go way off the ledge and do the worst that he could do to himself or to someone else? And I'm up, and you can look at the screenshot. I'm up at 6:30 in the morning. Or I'm up at 6:30 in the morning, and I'm thinking about him as I'm praying and stuff like that. I say, yo, send this to Ryan. Get this to Ryan. I wasn't going to text Ryan. I don't know if, he's going to respond or anything like that. But the reason why I bring this up is because if you thought that I was giving favoritism, I'm going to go ahead and say it, to a black fighter. If you thought that I was giving favoritism to a fighter that's in Vegas, if you thought I was giving favoritism to a fighter that I've known since I was 15 years old, when I say that I believe that Devin Haney is going to beat Ryan Garcia in the rematch, it ain't got nothing personal for me whatsoever. It's me looking at the X's and the O's, me looking at the moment, the night, the day, and trying to project what I think is going to happen in the future based off of my intellect and what I feel and what I believe. And so I just felt like, it's best that I make sure that people understand that this ain't coming from a place of me feeling like Ryan ain't this or Ryan ain't that. Ryan is all of that. But so is Devin.
Right.
And in the rematch, I think that Devin is just going to be better that night than he was in the previous.
Well, when you talk about just prove me wrong, when Ryan's saying, well, people have been saying this all my life. Yeah, but they also mentioned the talent that jumps off the screen. That's why you got 2 million followers on Instagram, because it doesn't take someone to know the sweet science to see that talent when he shoe shines. Like it's obvious. It jumps off the page. So yeah, maybe he's right. This pretty boy can't fight. I'm sure he's heard that since he was a little kid, but he probably also heard, oh my God, this kid's the next Oscar De La Hoya. He looks, just as often as that. Shawn, just want to ask you this because I know what the fans are going to get on, and maybe even Ryan. They'll say, and I know that was the last round against Broner. And Keith Thurman, who's a much bigger puncher than Broner, hit you with those same kind of hooks repeatedly for 12 rounds, and you didn't go anywhere. But they like to bring up a gift to go, well, look at Broner land this quick left hook and drop you, Shawn. Yeah. Why wouldn't the Ryan Garcia left hook have done the same?
So I'm going to give you guys all of it. I worked my butt off in that fight for 11 rounds. And I come back to the corner, and I personally felt like it was a situation where I'd gone the distance and AB wasn't going nowhere. Why put my foot on the gas pedal? Let's just coast through and get this done. I come back to the corner, and my dad is in my face like it's the 6th round. He in my face like I gotta go all out. And my dad's like still coaching me, telling me to go after him and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm like, damn, like I just say to somebody, but I'm thinking to myself, like, damn, I don't want to do that, right? So my dad's telling me, go after AB. And I'm like, I don't want to go after AB. So I walk out to the middle of the ring, and I'm in between my thoughts. I'm not even in the ring. And the hook comes, and my dad...
He brought your thoughts back, didn't he?
My dad slows that moment down, right? And he shows, wait, click, click, click. You saw the punch coming, and you do see, like, at the last minute, I react. When the punch was thrown, I was in the daze. As the punch is coming at me, I'm finally seeing it, but I go down because my head was in 2 different places. And when you got a Devin Haney that got hit multiple times with the same punch, but we know his amateur pedigree and we know how good he is as a fighter, that's something that's not supposed to happen, but he was just simply in the daze. You fast forward and you got fights with me and Keith Thurman, and, the list kind of goes on. That punch landed because I just wasn't there. I was in between what my dad wanted me to do, what I felt I should do. I went down and looked at my dad, get up, and then I proceeded to do what my dad asked me to do. That was a wake-up call for me, and like you said, he brought my memory, he brought my thoughts back, So yeah, that punch against Ryan is a beautiful punch. I love it. His brother Shawn has the exact same punch.
Yeah.
Just doesn't have the same sort of talent and abilities that he has. But they throw the punch the exact same way. It's a beautiful punch, but that punch wouldn't land
with it too.
That punch wouldn't land against me. Keith told me the other day. Did he say it on the show? Yeah, he said
he wasn't getting hit with the left hook.
Yeah, he said, because I was prepared for those things, and that's just how I was. Whatever you did well, I was always prepared to defend it and make you uncomfortable. So I would make Ryan Garcia uncomfortable.
There's a chance the Haneys don't have nothing for it.
It's very true. Very true.
There's a chance.
Very true.
Bill don't got nothing in his.
Very true.
Nothing to stop
George
that.
Foreman was going to beat Joe Frazier no matter what. Some fighters have your number.
Yeah.
So maybe, like Ryan, he's being defensive with you, but I would like to think deep down he understands the very simple math about this rematch, which is you got to prove it. If you can make weight and pass your drug test and do the exact same thing again, nobody's going to say anything other than job well done. And wow, can he be the next one of the face of boxing? Same thing for Devin Haney. He wants to chalk it up to the Osterine and Ryan blowing weight. So, hey, you go in there and you box his ears off in a rematch, everyone's going to say, you were right. You were right. He's not the better fighter. Though that obviously did have an effect. Or, Ryan, you were right. It had no effect. You're just the better fighter. It's very simple.
And the only thing I'm going to do is hopefully be ringside calling the fight, and I'm going to marvel at both those guys and how they perform. Simple as that. Win. Yeah.
We'll walk away from that fight with a clear conclusion, right? To your point. I mean, we're going to know one way or the other.
Yeah.
So.
Who do you think, Chris? Who do you give the edge?
Well,
I know we got to see them in May to get a better.
I think, but to your point, Sean, I think your opinion about what happens, it's less about Ryan. It's more about Devin, right? It's about the way that you think about Devin and his amateur pedigree and all that. And I'm kind of with you, honestly. I think that, and also to your point, right? Like when you're training in training camp, you're training your instincts, you build your fight plan and all that. And when you're not just thinking in the ring, right? That's when you're at your best. And I think Devin got caught thinking in the ring too much, right? So I think I'm really interested to see it clearly. But I like Devin's chances more this next go around, I think I'd say.
I definitely just want to see them fight in May, and then I think we'll all have a better handle of what we should expect in September. But in boxing, you never know. Or October, whenever they're supposed to fight.
And then let's do this real quick, and we'll get up out of here.
Big George.
Yeah, let's go ahead and let's go with Big George. Go ahead. You have the floor yet again, sir.
All right. Well,
I'll shout Big George. Big George. That was the very first fight I ever seen in my life when he knocked out Michael Moore in the 11th or 10th round. Come on, Sean.
10th round.
10th round, and I was just like, dang, this old man just knocked this young man out. And that added to, you don't mess with that grown man's strength.
Yeah.
That's what that added to. But that was the first boxing fight I ever seen in my life. Obviously, I heard of Mike Tyson, Roy Jones at the time, but that was actually the first fight I ever seen in my life.
That was the very first fight you ever saw?
Very first fight I ever seen.
Dang. You remember where you were?
7 years old?
Yeah.
6 years old?
Yeah, I was 8 years old in the countries of Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
To see a big country boy do it at 85, that had to feel good.
I'm just like, how this old man even, I was like, dang, he's still in the fight? And then for him to just hit him and knock him down, it didn't seem like it was fast or nothing, just all power. And I think, did he get up once?
No, that was it. He couldn't beat the count.
Okay.
Counted out at 10.
And obviously, the George Foreman grills, but I think that doesn't compare to the great boxer and the legend he was in the game.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna let you go because you give your bag.
I want Chris to go too because I feel I could be a little long-winded about Big George.
Yeah, and again, I think my perspective is again even through the Olympic amateur lens, right? And we were talking earlier, one of the Olympians this year, Roscoe Hill from Texas, right? Who's I'm not sure if it's his dad or his uncle or whatever, but worked with George Foreman. So you see kind of the legacy even to this day. And I remember the picture of him with the American flag after the Olympics, and his only regret was that he didn't have two, which I thought was really interesting at the times, right? So, an icon that every amateur from the grassroots level all the way up to pro title holders, right, that looks up to, and then the legacy is left on the sport.
Well, it's perfect that Chris is here because, George Foreman, now the sun has set on the big three, and the big three being Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, George Foreman, and all of them always linked to each other. And we will probably never in our lifetime see what those three accomplished, winning Olympic gold back to back, 60, 64, 68, and then winning the heavyweight championship back to back consecutively.
Wow, I didn't know that.
3 straight gold medals.
Yeah.
3 straight heavyweight champions.
Wow. Yeah.
Back to back to back. I don't think we'll ever see that again.
No, that's a good point.
So, good that Chris is here in timely fashion for that point. But so much to say about George. I'll try to be quick about it. But to distill it all, he had, when he knocked out Joe Frazier was coming off of beating Muhammad Ali and maybe the greatest fight in heavyweight championship history, their 15-round fight at the Garden. That is the most destructive performance in heavyweight championship history, alongside what Joe Louis did to Max Schmeling at right when World War II was beginning against, Nazi Germany, and Schmeling was from Germany and knocked Joe Louis out in the first fight. So I think Louis, Schmeling too, and Foreman, Frazier are the most destructive heavyweight championship performances in the history of the sport. And with George Foreman dying, we lose a link we had to the old world, to the 20th century. That sparks a lot of debate. Was it really good back then, or was it not? Or maybe in some ways it was, but it wasn't. But anyways, back then when he came from a time where a gentle giant, bald man could be the face of America.
Can we zoom in and give him a single? And give him his moment.
Right now.
I really want that for you. We're not going to do it, but I really want that for you.
No, but back, and this isn't to belittle.
We'll do it in post.
This isn't to belittle Jake Paul or make a Jake Paul side point, but when I mean lose our link to the old world, once upon a time we had the appetite for a bald old man to be the face of advertising and the face of American sport, right? And now the public's appetite has shifted to wanting a Jake Paul. He's like the biggest name in the sport. So that's what I get at, losing some of our traditionalism that he exemplified. And I love Bernard Hopkins, and his story in a different way than Hopkins is about redemption. And in today's sports talk, where it's about who's the GOAT and all this other drivel, basically, his story is so much bigger than boxing. He lost to Jimmy Young in 1977, collapsed in his locker room, said God came to him, Jesus came to him. He became a preacher. He retired for 10 years. And then eventually comes back and becomes heavyweight champion. That's an amazing story about redemption. He was once a man the world and the country feared so much you wouldn't approach him for a picture, an autograph. And then 20 years later, America's inviting them into their living rooms, and he's America's sweetheart. Everybody loves him. But wasn't a gimmick. He changed his identity as a fighter. He won the heavyweight title 20 years apart, which now that I'm older, that really is astounding. And he's still the oldest heavyweight champion of all time. 20 years ago, not even 20 years ago, 19 years ago, Kobe Bryant was going for 81 points. And he's not even with us any longer. 20 years ago, a lot of things were going on. So to win the heavyweight championship and in the 2 true golden eras of the heavyweight division, the 1970s where you had Ali, Norton, Frazier, Foreman, etc. The 90s where you had Bo and Tyson and Moore and Holyfield and Lennox Lewis. For him to win the heavyweight title in the 2 deepest eras of the division's history says a lot. And to change his identity as a fighter, he
as a more so as a person, right?
And a fighter.
And a fighter too. Yeah, because
And he had such a unique, when he had made his return, just look at that walking uppercut knockout on Jerry Cooney. He had such a unique delivery system and trajectory to his punch. He would throw these booming punch downward on guys and hit you anywhere he could hit you, and he could find you, and he was accurate. And had one of the best chins in heavyweight history. I mean, Holyfield hit him with a 20-piece in the 3rd and 7th round, and he didn't go anywhere. Archie Moore had him doing the cross arms defense when he got old. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but he was a truly special human being. The kind of, it's so special. We don't get stories like that in contemporary society. He was a beautiful man, a beautiful story, a crude style. More refined when he got older, but I mean, what more can you say? One of the greatest heavyweights that ever lived. So
boom, boom. I'm going to end with the motivational message right now, based off of what you were talking about. We salute George Foreman, and today's motivational message is simply redemption. We all have something to redeem. Could be respect. It could be a loved one, or anything. We all have something to redeem. Find your purpose. And as you find your purpose, live in your purpose. And when you find yourself getting knocked down, or you find yourself getting pulled away from something, understand that there's a redemptive energy, there's a redemptive mindset, there's a redemptive attitude that's needed in order for you to conquer whatever that is pulling you down. Conquer it and redeem yourself. This is the PorterWay.
Stay blessed.